What kind of person smashes a stranger's fence and demands an apology for being caught? Karen Miller was that person, and on a blistering Iowa afternoon, her rage would unravel a quiet farm's peace and ignite a battle that no one saw coming. The air was thick with the scent of hay and tension as Karen, a woman whose self-entitled swagger seemed to eclipse the sun, stormed onto Amos Carter's land. Amos, a third-generation farmer with calloused hands and a heart tethered to his fields, was mending a tractor when he heard the crack of splintering wood. His head snapped up, eyes narrowing at the sight of Karen, her face twisted in a scowl, kicking through his fence like it was kindling. She wasn't just trespassing, she was waging war on his property. And for what? A shortcut to the county fairgrounds that shaved 10 minutes off her drive. Amos grabbed his phone, the lens capturing every thud of her foot against his cedar posts, every venomous word she spat when he shouted for her to stop. "This is my land," he roared. But Karen, undeterred, turned to him with a smirk that could curdle milk. "You should thank me for improving your view," she sneered, gesturing at the broken slats. The audacity burned hotter than the August sun. Amos's hands shook, not from fear but from the realization that this woman thought she owned the world. He kept recording, knowing the truth was his only weapon against her arrogance. Karen's voice rose, shrill and commanding, as she demanded he delete the video or face her wrath. Amos stood his ground, his boots rooted in the soil his grandfather tilled, refusing to bow to her tantrum. The video, now a digital testament to her hubris, would soon become the cornerstone of a fight that would shake their small town. Karen's rampage didn't end with the fence. She marched toward Amos, jabbing a finger in his face, her voice a crescendo of entitlement. "You're nothing but a backward farmer," she hissed. "And I'll make sure everyone knows it." Amos, a man of few words but deep resolve, let her words slide off him like rain on a tin roof. He'd seen her type before, people who thought money and volume could bend the world to their will. But Karen underestimated him. Amos wasn't just a farmer. He was a keeper of principles, a man who'd weathered droughts, floods, and the death of his wife, Clara, 5 years prior. That loss had carved a quiet strength into him, one Karen couldn't fathom. As she ranted, Amos's neighbor, Lila, appeared at the edge of the field, her eyes wide with disbelief. She'd heard the commotion from her porch and ran over, her apron still dusted with flour from baking. "Amos, what's happening?" she called, her voice trembling. Karen spun on her, snapping, "Mind your own business, lady." Lila flinched but didn't retreat, her presence a silent rebuke to Karen's venom. The scene was chaos, a clash of worlds, Karen's self-righteous fury against Amos's steadfast calm. Then came the twist that tightened the knot in everyone's chest. Karen, in her blind rage, didn't notice the small crowd gathering at the road. Among them was Deputy Sam, off-duty but still in uniform, who'd been driving by and stopped to investigate. His presence shifted the air, a quiet promise that Karen's actions wouldn't vanish into the Iowa dust. Amos's video was now rolling for 5 minutes, capturing Karen's every word and move. She didn't know it yet, but each frame was a nail in the coffin of her bravado. Deputy Sam stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Ma'am, you need to step back and explain yourself." Karen's eyes flashed with defiance, but for the first time, a flicker of unease crossed her face. She wasn't used to being challenged, not by a farmer, not by a deputy, not by anyone. "This is public property," she lied, gesturing wildly at the broken fence. Sam raised an eyebrow, glancing at Amos, who shook his head. "This is my land, Sam," Amos said, his voice steady as granite. "Been in my family since 1920. The deputy nodded, pulling out his notepad, his pen scratching as Karen's lies unraveled. She doubled down, claiming Amos had provoked her, that the fence was an eyesore blocking her rights. But the video told a different story, one of deliberate destruction, of a woman so consumed by her own ego that she couldn't see the line she'd crossed. Lila, still standing by the barn, whispered to Amos, "You've got her now." Amos didn't smile, but his eyes gleamed with a quiet fire. He wasn't just fighting for his fence. He was fighting for every farmer, every underdog, every person who'd ever been steamrolled by someone like Karen. The confrontation was no longer just about a few broken boards, it was about justice, and Amos was ready to see it through. Word of Karen's outburst spread like wildfire through the town of Willow Creek. By evening, Amos's video was circulating on local social media, shared by neighbors who'd long grown tired of Karen's antics. She wasn't new to controversial berated waitresses, bullied shopkeepers, and once tried to sue the library for emotional distress over a late fee. But this time, she'd picked the wrong fight. Amos wasn't just a farmer. He was a pillar of the community, a man who donated half his harvest to the food bank last year when the drought hit. The town rallied behind him, their anger at Karen's arrogance fueling a quiet rebellion. At the local diner, folks huddled over coffee, watching the video on their phones, gasping at Karen's audacity and cheering Amos's resolve. "She's gone too far," said Old Man Jenkins, slamming his mug down. "Amos deserves better." Meanwhile, Karen, oblivious to the storm she'd unleashed, sat in her pristine SUV, typing furious posts online, painting herself as the victim of a hostile farmer and a backward town. But the truth was a stubborn thing, and Amos's video was its unyielding voice. The next morning, Amos sat with his lawyer, Sarah, a sharp-witted woman who'd grown up on a farm herself. She watched the video, her jaw tightening with every frame. "This is open and shut," she said, her voice brimming with conviction. "Trespassing, vandalism, and she's got no defense." Amos nodded, his hands folded on the table, still caked with the dirt of his fields. He wasn't a vengeful man, but he couldn't let this slide. The fence wasn't just wood, it was a boundary, a symbol of his life's work, and Karen had trampled it without a second thought. Sarah filed a lawsuit that same day, charging Karen with property damage and seeking restitution for the fence, legal fees, and emotional distress. The news hit Willow Creek like a thunderclap. Karen, predictably, didn't take it lying down. She stormed into the courthouse, her voice echoing through the halls as she demanded to speak to the judge. "This is harassment," she shrieked, her face red with indignation. But the clerk, unfazed, handed her the summons and told her to get a lawyer. For the first time, Karen's bravado faltered. She wasn't just facing Amos now, she was facing the law, and the law didn't care about her tantrums. As the court date loomed, the tension in Willow Creek grew thicker than the summer humidity. Karen doubled down, hiring a slick city lawyer who promised to bury Amos in legal fees. She spread rumors, claiming Amos had baited her, that the fence was already falling apart, that the video was doctored. But the twist came when Lila, the quiet neighbor who'd witnessed the chaos, stepped forward with her own evidence. She'd been recording from her porch, capturing a different angle of Karen's rampage. Her video showed something Amos's didn't. Karen deliberately backing her SUV into the fence before kicking it. A calculated act to make her shortcut permanent. The revelation sent shockwaves through the town. Lila, who'd always shied away from conflict, became an unlikely hero. "I couldn't let her lie," she told Amos, her voice soft but firm. The two videos together painted a damning picture. One Karen's lawyer couldn't spin. At the preliminary hearing, Sarah presented both recordings, and the judge's face hardened as he watched Karen's calculated destruction. Karen sat in the courtroom, her arms crossed, her lips pursed, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of fear. She wasn't in control anymore. Amos, sitting across the room, met her gaze with a quiet intensity. This wasn't just about a fence, Anna Maria, it was about accountability, and Karen was about to learn what that meant. The trial was a spectacle Willow Creek wouldn't soon forget. The courtroom buzzed with townsfolk, their whispers a low hum as Karen took the stand. Her lawyer had coached her to play the victim, and she leaned into it, dabbing her eyes with a tissue as she spun a tale of being threatened by Amos. But the videos were merciless. When Sarah played them for the jury, the room fell silent, save for the crack of splintering wood and Karen's venomous shouts. The jurors' faces tightened, their sympathy evaporating with every frame. Amos took the stand next, his voice steady as he recounted the day his peace was shattered. He didn't embellish or exaggerate, just told the truth. his words carrying the weight of a man who'd earned every wrinkle on his face. "That fence wasn't just mine," he said, his eyes sweeping the room. "It was my father's, my grandfather's. It was our history." The jury leaned forward, hanging on his words. Karen's lawyer tried to poke holes, suggesting Amos had provoked her. But the videos left no room for doubt. The truth was a blade, and it cut through Karen's lies like butter. Then came the collapse. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with a reputation for fairness, delivered the verdict with a voice like iron. Karen was found liable for vandalism, trespassing, and punitive damages. The total, $12,000 to cover the fence, Amos's legal fees, and a penalty for her egregious conduct. Karen's face crumpled, her bravado shattering like the fence she destroyed. She stood, shouting about an appeal, but her lawyer pulled her back, whispering urgently. The town watched as she stormed out, her SUV peeling away from the courthouse, leaving a trail of dust and defeat. For Amos, it wasn't about the money, it was about standing up to someone who thought they could trample others without consequence. The victory was bittersweet. He'd won, but the scars of the fight lingered. His fence could be rebuilt, but the trust in his community's peace had been shaken. Karen, meanwhile, became a cautionary tale, her name synonymous with arrogance and accountability. Posts on social media called it the fence fiasco, and Karen's online rants only fueled the fire, her complaints drowned out by the town's unified support for Amos. In the weeks that followed, Amos rebuilt the fence, stronger this time, with help from Lila and other neighbors. They worked under the Iowa sun, their laughter mingling with the clink of hammers, a quiet defiance of the chaos Karen had brought. Amos didn't gloat, didn't need to. The victory wasn't just his. It was a reminder that truth and resilience could outlast even the loudest tantrums. For the people of Willow Creek, the story became a beacon, a testament to standing firm in the face of entitlement. And for Karen, it was a lesson she'd carry forever. Actions have consequences, and no amount of shouting could rewrite the truth. As Amos stood by his new fence, watching the sunset paint the fields gold, he felt Clara's presence in the breeze. "We did it," he whispered, knowing she'd be proud. The world kept turning, the crops kept growing, and Willow Creek stood a little taller, united by a farmer's quiet courage and a community's unshakable heart.